Hey everyone. Maybe as you know by now, I was doing this draft EA reviews for this Manoa Banyan Court project. I had a few videos on this, and just kind of wanted to round it out, close it out with this is gonna be the last video of this series. And what happened again was LYCA submitted this draft EA to DPP, and I guess the idea or their intent was to get it, published and then kind of move along on the process. But DPP replied and with this incomplete assessment finding. So essentially, it'll kind of put, I don't want to say back to the drawing board, but it there's going to be a lot of things that LYC is going to have to address before it actually gets published, and before we as the public get our chance to do our more formal review. So I'm just going to kind of walk through this letter. This is the letter that DPP replied to LYCA, and it's again a notice of incomplete assessment. So So they've determined that it's incomplete, and DPP needs these bullets below satisfied before they can determine whether to even publish it, for our public review, and to allow for, again, like they're saying, meaningful public review. And I kind of want to walk through these bullets here. First one, yeah, just more info on the multiple phases. There wasn't a lot of cost information on all phases. This second bullet, though, is gonna kind of be big for us. More thorough impacts, on character of the community, the change. Exactly how existing conditions would change, and how the proposed plan is consistent with the character of the surrounding neighborhood. And so, DPP here, you know, does care, about maybe existing zoning and planning and how these proposals fit in. So it's kind of nice to see that they're requiring a more thorough analysis on that one. Third bullet, more detail on the visual impacts. It didn't really, again, say much in the draft DA that we saw submitted. This next bullet, this is another big one, and it kind of speaks to the findings that I guess I kind of saw too, right? More details on this stormwater management. Call them out here. You say the dry ditches dry most of the year, but they're requiring this analysis of what is this heavy rainfall event, what is the drainage look like, and how would the site change. So it's good. They even, this next paragraph here, the Alawai watershed project was mentioned. That's kind of like it was not deemed necessary, but again, they're saying that that it was sort of important, in that project, that there was some retention, and how would this project affect that. So that's kind of a nice thing to see from DPP calling out. This last one, they're saying that in our PUCDP, there's a policy that they want to have green belts around any kind of streams, and so they're asking about if that is is that would that be in the plan, or would that be available? Noise impacts. So and they talked about the special events that we saw, that they mentioned briefly 3 or 4 times a year. And again, it was the whole chicken and the egg. They said, well, we have a lot of thick vegetation, and here, DPP kind of calls them out here. It's like, we see the plans that look almost edge to edge, on the property lines. So describe, how much vegetation is left, and if is that enough to mitigate the noise that you're saying is going to come, from the residential, but also for these proposed special events. So it's nice to see. Um, this was a kind of big bullet here. It's short, but it's really big. DPP is calling straight up, a complete traffic impact analysis report by a traffic engineer. utilizing current data. So, that whole traffic section that we saw with the very questionable, modifiers, multipliers that said only 75 trips per day in a 288 unit complex was clearly not, right. And even the some of the existing data they were referencing studies, from maybe the 90s. It was like 97 and 2004 or something. I mean, old data. So, um, just want to point out, in the neighborhood board, they're saying, well, hey, they're gonna pause. LYC is gonna pause, and we took the public's input for we're gonna now do the traffic study. Well, that may or may not be right, but DPP is telling them right here that they need it. So, it might be for that they're listening to us, but it could just be that they're being required to do it in this bullet right here by DPP. So, I got a good laugh out of this one. Okay, so the paragraph, page 66, appears incomplete. And I thought I looked through this DEA pretty closely, and I was kind of scratching my head. So I'll take a time here just to jump to this. It was kind of funny. I got a good laugh here. So I'm on page 66, reference in that bullet, and I'm right here. So, it's like there's an open sentence that just the open space at park, and it's just like just empty empty white space. And even down here, there's like this weird like single character minimizes further exposure f comma and damage. It's just like there's a section that was like literally incomplete, like grammatically. It was like kind of like textually. Wow, it was kind of funny. um this next bullet, it kind of says behind the scenes. Okay, they're asking for analysis of alternates that would comply with existing zoning and our development plan for the area. So by saying it this way, it's saying that the current plan doesn't, right? The current plan is going to call for these exemptions, and DPP is specifically asking LYCA for alternatives that would actually fit in the existing zoning and planning guidelines, and giving them some suggestions here. You can do language schools, and with conditional use in the zoned residential, which is the triangle. So instead of going, full exemptions on the community center, they're asking, hey, you could maybe do conditional use and do a few types of activities. But again, you can't do a medical clinic or the retail store on R75. It would require those exemptions through 201H, right? And then they're kind of saying in this next part, the housing component is currently on this P2 general preservation, and kind of what we saw before. I mean, the development plan is not only is it P2 preservation, but the development plan map is showing it as major parks and open space. So they're asking, hey, are there other uses that would fit within that classification that they could use? So it's kind of really good to see, actually, in this kind of report. And this is kind of closing, and it speaks to hey, you can resubmit when all these bullets are done, but hey, if the additional analysis reveals significant impacts, then DPP is expecting to kind of just not, it can't be a DEA. It needs to be a full-blown EIS if a significant impact is found, while they're completing, those bullets. So, I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, I read this, and it was almost every point that I had in my little video series and more. And DPP really, they definitely went through this, and took it very seriously, and I feel like they are Um, in this case, you're definitely looking out for the neighborhood, for the community, and kind of making sure that we at least see an impact statement that is more complete and more relevant, and that way we'll be able to then our comments, right, we'll be able to do a better review. So yeah, it was very I was extremely happy, I guess, to see this type of response from the Department of Planning and Permitting. And this was March 28th. So LYCA submitted this their draft EA. I think it was the 4th, March 4th, or so early in the month, and DPP replied here on the 28th. So yeah, this is gonna wrap up. I mean, my draft EA review series. This the draft EA that we just saw it as we saw it in this series is sort of it's been denied here as incomplete. So there's gonna be something else coming, and I guess I'll have to do maybe another another set of videos. But thank you, for following me for this long. If you have, maybe hear from me again when the next series comes up.